while we're at it, that scene right there is is in Romania, and it's the first place we visited. And getting there, I'm going to talk about that very briefly, about how we got there and why we went there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want a laser?
Sure.
You want me to do the slides?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I guess you heard all that too.
Yes. All right. So the laser pointer is a red button, and then I will do the slides. Okay. Does it work? Okay. All right. So the people on Zoom won't be able to see the laser pointer.
Things are looking up.
Oh, I see. So we wait 5 minutes?
2 minutes? 1 minute?
1 minute?
All right, so we have cards with QR codes to both the website, and then he's also got a YouTube channel. Would you say like and subscribe?
That's right. Like and subscribe.
So do we start? Go. Go?
It's
Go?
8:10. You're on. Dr.
Oh,
Marshall.
it is. Oh, I must be on Texas slowdown time. Okay. All right. Anyway, so first slide, here we go. Does it work?
Next slide.
Yeah. Okay. So you all know about this, about how the United Nations proclaimed its International Year of the Periodic Table. We were very glad to see this. Next slide. Die Geschichte der Wissenschaft ist Wissenschaft selbst. In other words, the history of science is science itself. And we all know that since we're in the history division, don't we? By Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And so on we go. There's a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And if you heard this book, it's a Brazilian where he goes on in adventures and he finds out that if you want something badly enough, the universe will conspire to make sure that you get it. And that's the experience that Jenny and I had, the lure of the chase. Go on, we'll see. So the dream began when we visited this particular place in Leadville, Colorado, the National Mining Museum, years and years and years ago. So Diana, remember when we went to the Denver the meeting back then? And so we went and visited this place, and inside you'll see some, go ahead, next slide. Those are the marchers in Freiburg, Germany. The silver mining was an honorable profession. You see them marching up and down, and you see the miners' axes and caps there. And we actually saw the parade when we went to Germany. Next slide. Here they go marching along. We didn't see the people to the left. But the people marching along is really great. The modern parade they have, the Bergparade, which they have every year in Freiburg. Next slide. And well, the beginnings of rediscovery actually began because I was a flight instructor for a while. And there was Chris, where are you?
Right here.
All right. Yes. You were in a class in Denton, Texas, and your teacher was Jenny Lumpkin. And she said, Dad, Jenny heard that you instruct airplanes, and she would like to have flying lessons. I said, well, okay, we can do that. So it all started with so here's their airplane. We decided to start flying. That's Jenny to the right, me to the left, and the Bonanza, fantastic airplane. It'll get up to 20,000 feet without any problem. I can't do that nowadays. I start breathing in Denver air, let alone 20,000 feet. Next slide. And so we had electrical power while we were flying an IFR, this instrument flight, from all the way from Houston to back to Denton. And what were we going to do? Anyway, next slide. Well, GPS had just become available. And it was available to all private pilots, but not the airline pilots. And it was the funniest thing because the first time we went to Europe, we had that handheld thing, which we still have, holding it up to the window as we were flying from commercial from Dallas all the way to London, to England, where my sister lives. And the stewardess would say, "What is that?" I said, "Well, it's a GPS." I said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it tells you where you are, latitude and longitude." I said, "What? Did the pilots know about that?" I said, "I don't know. Go up there and ask them." So she did, and the pilot, and so the stewardess came back, and I wrote down the latitude and longitude that this thing was giving. And she came back and said, he said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Well, it's a GPS." I said, "Oh, okay." As we were walking out, I talked to the pilot and I said, "Well, I was the person with the GPS." I said, "We got one too, but we're not supposed to. It's hidden in my little briefcase down here." Next slide. Okay. So we used it all over the place. There's a book. It was written by Mary Elvira Weeks. It's a classic, Discovery Elements. I'm sure a lot of you know about this. In fact, the ACS published the book. And it was a classic. And when Jenny and I got married, which was back in 98, she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go to all those places that Weeks was talking about. Why don't we do that?" So we bit off a big chunk and away we went. Let's go. Next slide. So here are the elements. This particular table has an icon for every one. It's just, we use this quite a bit. Take your pick. You can guess off for the heck of it. Is this pointer working? I don't see it.
It was just a second ago. It's working.
Try this one, Jim.
Okay, well, cool.
Where are you pointing? Pick the dinosaur?
Here's a dinosaur. What do you think that is? Iridium. Because remember, the iridium was a. Yeah, it dated the time of the dinosaurs, and so on and so on. It's kind of fun going through here, all the icons here, Marie Curie, and so on and so on and so on. Next slide. Okay, let's get going. Here's the New World elemental discoveries. We decided that we were going to see all these sites. Unfortunately, we never got down here, but we could always find somebody who lived down here so we could get pictures accordingly. And aluminum, we didn't go up there, but that's historic. And the rest of these places, okay, go ahead and hit it, see what happens. Here's a Europe. Are you ready? There's going to be a quiz on this after the talk. So everywhere the element was, we had to go to every one of these places, and we did. And it took us from the year 1998 to 2010 to do this. Are we still going? Yeah, we're still going. And we actually never went here, but we knew somebody whose relatives are actually from there, and here, and the rest of these places. We've been to all these places. Let's see. Are we done yet? Not quite. Okay.
Just a little further.
Just a little. We'll stop at uranium because otherwise you go nuts. Okay. All right. So we did, and we were fortunate because my mother taught French, and I learned that from her, and I learned German in Charlotte when I went to Davidson College there. And I knew a little bit of Russian, not very much. When we went to Russia, at least I could read the signs and see this. Nabokov lived here. We went to St. Petersburg and so on. Is that up here? Yeah. And we never went here. We never went here, but we knew people who had relatives here, and were able to give us pictures, and we were able to cover this too. Next slide. Here we go. All right. And there may be multiple discovery sites too, as some of you know. Where was, for example, strontium. Well, which one are you going to call the discovery site for strontium? Well, I don't know. I mean, it was, here's where the mine was. We went there. Here's the laboratory where they had the first full characterization chemical-wise. Here's the medicine where somebody discovered if you take strontium, this is a good medicine, they found out, because it clears out the stomach. Well, it sure did. and the lab where there was somebody actually separated it from the other elements of the same group. In Davies' lab, where the metal was finally isolated, in Klaproth's laboratory, who confirmed it. Which one is the discovery site? Well, take your pick. And all these added up to to discover this particular element. Is there another one? You go on the next slide. How about oxygen? Well, you all know about Lavoisier, who discovered oxygen, but there's Sheila who actually observed it too. It's called Feuerluft. Tom, you know Swedish. And Priestley called it dephlogisticated air. And Priestley never did understand exactly what he had, and he went down the wrong path. That's another story in itself. Okay, let's get going. And so we just said, all right, there's a perfect time for rediscovery, and the reason is because the Iron Curtain fell in 1991, so we could finally go across here to various places. And two, the internet allowed rapid communication and easier planning. And Jenny, who was your teacher, we had actually set up the computer and the photography in the Calhoun school. And so she got that covered. Next slide. And the new computers came out. You see this floppy disk they use in here? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And so here's the digital camera here, and here's the GPS we're talking about. Digital camera, what? Any of you familiar with this? It just came out. Jenny said, there's this new camera that came out, which you can take as many pictures as you want to, but you need floppy disks. So you slide this floppy disk in there and you take the picture. You should have seen our first years, and they had a whole sack of 100 floppy disks coming back across. Later on, we discovered we could put them on a flash drive on a computer, which saved time. Let's get going. You get an idea of what all this involved. Next slide. Hope it don't run out of time. Go ahead. Since my watch is, yeah. And here's the GPS we use. I showed you that before. And this allowed easy map making and easier navigation. And Junta made a map, you may be aware, where you can actually go to the various places. And I was able to afford the GPS coordinates for him. That was a lot of fun. Next slide. And so, actually, for example, what movie was it? Was it the Da Vinci Code, the movie, where they had these plaques which went all the way to the pyramid? And so if you follow these plaques and you look here, let me see if I can see. I can do a little bit of walking. Here we are. The position is 2 degrees, 20 minutes. And that was supposed to be the prime meridian that the Parisians used. And they used this, and it was very confusing because when we went to Mexico later and we used Humboldt's data, he had the right longitude, but he was using the Paris meridian as the 0 meridian instead of Greenwich, which later. And that caused a bit of confusion, but that was a lot of fun. Okay. And next slide. On we go. Okay. Some of you asked about the element collection. I'm going to be talking about that at 2 o'clock. And here's Oliver Sacks, who visited our elemental site because Roald Hoffman told Oliver Sacks, they were good friends, that there's this element collection down there. So here's Oliver, and he was one of those fellas who was so bloody smart that he didn't have to brag about it. And it's just a joy to be around people. You know, Nobel laureates who were just, you impressed them not by their knowledge, but the fact they're so curious about the world and how wonderful it is. That was Oliver Sacks. Here he is playing. He did such things as, did you know the bismuth is diamagnetic? I said, well, okay, what does that mean? He said, it repels a magnet. I said, what? I said, do you have a string? Yes. Do you have a bar of bismuth? Yes. We tied it on the lamp, and then we got one of these powerful magnets and got it close to the bismuth, and it repelled. I said, I'll be diggity dog. Okay, that's Texan language. And this whole cabinet here extending over. We can talk about that later. That element collection is available in our home. And we thought about giving that element collection to a museum. And unfortunately, it was just best to place it in good hands who would take care of it for several generations. And Christopher is responsible for that, his school. And thank you, Chris. And you know who Oliver Sacks was. It was who wrote Uncle Tungsten and Marvelous man. Marvelous man. Next slide. The movie Awakenings, where they were copying Oliver Sacks. Anyway, here we go. Here he is. He did something else. Says, "Do you have any? Can you make me a cup of hot tea, please? Because I want to put some gallium in there." I said, "What?" So he drops a little ingot of gallium and it melted in a little pool at the bottom. So what are you going to do? He said, "Well, I'm going to drink my tea." So he drank his tea, and then after a while, "You have an ice cube?" "Yes." Put an ice cube in it. He froze the gallium back again. And so we put the gallium back in the element collection. No harm done. Next slide. Okay. One of my former students, Cato McDaniel, said, "Why don't you tell the story how it really felt to be to all these places?" And so that's the story, the thrill of the chase that I want to discuss about with you very quickly. Next slide. And we'll give one example. We decided to take the most challenging search first, the Vatsabai mine in, Nick, am I pronouncing that right?
I'm from Bulgaria.
Well, I know. And
We're neighbors.
and your neighbors, okay, all right. And he was where tellurium was discovered. Well, let's see if we can find that. Well, at TW, which is Texas Women's University, which is a sister institution where I'm from, which is University of North Texas, she knew Donna Pope, who was head of the Mineralogical Society of the university there, Klausner-Napoca. I don't know if you ever heard of that before. Well, next slide. And so here's the train. Let's get on the train and go. What the heck? I mean, we were young back then. You always are when you're younger. And the train from Budapest to Cluj-Napoca, Romania. They're curious what the devil we were doing there. Next slide. Beautiful landscape. It's old. It reminds you of America maybe a century ago. A very beautiful country. Next slide. And such things as the king of Hungary. What was did he also conquer Bulgaria too? No, okay, he didn't. Okay, he didn't get you. He didn't get you guys. He didn't get you guys.
There. You have to go there.
There you go. Okay. Next slide. Okay. And so here's Donna Pope, curator of the Mineralogical Museum, the Babesh Boldai University, and this is very interesting. Here's specimens we have up here. Can you read this? Quartz, C-U-A-R-T, and the T has a cedilla at the end of it. Do they have that? That's the country next door to you. It's quartz and Nagain. So these were minerals of tellurium. Okay, let's go there. So they got a little curious and said, okay. So all the explorers got together and said, we can take you up to where the mine was, because they were exploring for gold. So this is back when they were trying to find out new gold sources. And all the maps were in Hungarian, because of course they had the Hungarian Empire then. And the Hungarian Empire did not include Bulgaria? No, okay, good. The tables of Babel of people yapping in Hungarian and Romanian and English and so on. Here's one of the maps here. You go crazy. You're trying to read one of the. This is all in Hungarian. I don't know a word of Hungarian. It's crazy. And so here we are driving to. Here's the main highway here, I-35, I-25 here, and going to the Apuseni Mountains. Up we go. And next slide. And just into the Apuseni Mountains, the people, the miners knew where we were going. Okay, up we go. Get scenes like this in Hungarian, returning this lost sheep. Very, very beautiful. Zlatna, Romania, that's Russian for zoloto, which is gold. Next slide. And here we are together, getting ready to go up there. And then waiting for the libation, gaining strength for the journey up the mountain. I got to tell you a story which is kind of ridiculous but funny. So we all had to go to the bathroom, you know. And so Jenny came back and says, there wasn't any paper in the bathroom. I said, well, okay. All I could find was a telephone book, a telephone book, okay. So I told the leader of us who speaks their language, could you ask him where the toilet paper is? And he came back and said, no, but did you find the telephone book? Oh, my goodness. Yes, he might go on we go. Up the mountain in Jeep, okay. Up the trail. They knew where they were going. Up they were going. And again, we have buildings like this, which were lay over from the Hungarians. Up the slide. Scrambling up to the mine area. Next slide. And here we are, the geologists analyzing the minerals of the mine. They really knew what they were doing. Next slide. And the Taylor slope shows the location of the mine. It's the Taylor slope going up here. And if you go up to the mine,
Oops, sorry.
there, that's okay. That's one of the miners. And discovery wild blueberries. They thought that was more important. And next slide. There's the top of the Taylor slope. Next slide. Here's the original Fatsab Bayou in Romanian and Fasabanya in Hungarian. And here it is. We found it. And so Jenny and I sat on a rock. We said, you know what? If we could do this, we can go to all these places. You want to do that? She said, sure, why not? And we had just gotten The Alchemist, which says if you want something badly enough, the universe will conspire to make sure that you get it. So on we went. Next slide. I don't know how much more time we got. Go ahead. Here we are.
You're halfway through.
Yeah, halfway. Okay. We're about halfway here. Next slide. Here they are. And we also found Dracula's in Sigishwara, his birthplace. Various things like this. Next slide. And so that was the first example. So can you imagine what it'd be like to visit all of the 92 elements? It took a long time. We'll give you one more example and then we're done. And that's Huntford Martin Heinrich Klaproth, perhaps the best analytical chemist of the 1700s. He discovered uranium and lots of other elements. So here's in Berlin. Here's the gateway, right? And in the Museum für Naturkunde in Berlin, next slide, we've seen such things as the Archaeopteryx, which is the original bird, feathered dinosaur bird. Take your pick. It sits in there. Next slide. And here, the original sample of vanadinite, incorrectly analyzed by a European chemist as a chromium ore. And Klaproth analyzed it and said, nope, it's a new element. And so he was able to discover vanadium, which is later on in Sweden. Tom would know about that, because they're important vanadium mines in Sweden. Next slide. And so here's the example. Vanadium Bleierz, which literally means vanadium lead ore in German. Here it is in Spanish, Noa de Mexique, Cromitoplon. Okay, we're going a little fast, but you get the idea. Next slide. And so here are the places that we went to, ready to go. And just get the idea of how vanadium finally was rediscovered. It's a long story, but the idea of where this leads us. Next slide. Here we are. Here's the display, and Martin Heinrich Klaproth, who discovered all these elements: beryllium, titanium, cerium, chromium, strontium, zirconium, tellurium, uranium. That's all. And here's looky here, strontiumite. You remember we talked about strontium being discovered originally in the British Isles? So here it is. Here's the original. Here's a probe de Entdeckung des Strontium. That's the original sample of the discovery of strontium, which is from Scotland. That's Scotland. Next slide. And here is the fellow here who's these people are so friendly. Once they discovered, here's Americans coming here and wanting to find out what we're doing over here. Isn't that interesting? And so here's the Rolf Thomas Schmidt. Here's the Museum for Naturkunde. Here's the original sample of torbanite, which is a copper, uranite, phosphate. It's analyzed by Klaproth and discovered to uranium. And we were able to fondle, hold this original sample in our hand. This is the one that was originally used to discover it. And we see that again and again and again. How's our time? We got lots of time, don't we? How far along are we? So, So we had to discover where the original analysis was done. How do we do that? Well, in the Weeks book that we discussed of Volume 4, they have a copy of this particular painting, which identifies the original apothecary of Klaproth, which is a Rose Pharmacy back then. In the Heilige Geistkirche, that's a Holy Ghost church. And here's the painting by First or whatever it is. Here's the painting itself. Here we go. And it's a white swan. It's a Weissenschwan. It identifies the original apothecary of Rose Pharmacy, Commission 17. Across the street from the Heilige Geistkirche, the Holy Ghost Church painting. So all we have to do is find that church. And then we got it. We can find the laboratory. Are you excited? Let's go find it. Okay. So next slide. Here's the painting. Okay. And so here it is. Here's the church. So does the church exist nowadays? Here's a photograph of it taken way back in the archives by the cat. And look at there. Right across from the church we have Apotheca, apothecary. And so this is the original site of it. And here it is. So we take a picture of it, take a GPS of it, and this is where it was discovered. And we just sit there and just absorb in the history. Next slide. So the pharmacy, along with all the many Berlin structures, were destroyed in 1945. And now the site is occupied by a bookstore. Now, how would you know that otherwise? Well, we're just very, very, very lucky. So you get an idea. So the search has just begun. The major elemental discoveries of Klaproth were not done at the Zum Weissenschwan, but at the Apotheker zum Bären. That's the apothecary of the bears. The Berlin Bears. Any of you been to Berlin? And they talk about the Berlin Bears. And at the confluence of Probststrasse and Spandauer Strasse. I wonder if those streets still exist. I just wonder. So let's go find out. Okay. Here's the museum in the Marcus Museum in Berlin, which has a scale model of Berlin back in the 1700s. Oh my gosh. All we have to do is find where Probststrasse is, Spandauer Strasse, the two streets. We got it, right? Well, let's go find out. Okay. Here's the Brandenburg Gate. You remember the gate you saw originally in Berlin? And it's number 1 way down here. And you go down here to 7, which is the church, the Nikolai Kirche, which is the Nicholas Church in East Berlin. Now it's in East Berlin, and it had just opened. Before then, it was very difficult to get in here. I told you, this was after the Iron Curtain had lifted. And so we were able to travel around here and see all these places. Okay, let's do that. Next slide, what do we see? Here's a close-up of East Berlin and the model. Next slide. So we were able to identify. Okay. Here's where the stones of Weissenschwan. That's to the white swan where we saw before. Here's the Heilige Geistkirche, which is, remember the church is right across the street from the church here. And then down here it's Zum Bären and the Nikolai Kirche. That's the bear. The bear. What is that? Let's find out, Pam. What is that? Well, if you go into the apothecary here, this is in the museum, the Marcus Museum, which we saw before. Here's the apothecary here where they sold such things as, here's what they sold in the apothecary back then. Opium, willow bark, apples, other herbs, seeds, barks, roots, and the main profit though came from tobacco and sugar and brandwein, this wine, and brandy, I think. Is that right? I think I got that right. And soaps, perfumes, ointments, cosmetics, pigments, and here they are. And this is where all the people gathered. And these are the places that eventually evolved into the pubs. Okay, all right. So next slide, we'll go here. All right, so we go stopping to, we found the street, the Probststrasse. And so all we have to do is walk along here. And here is the Nikolai Kirche, the St. Nicholas Church here. So we know we're on the right track. So we know by following the models that you just saw, I know it went awfully fast, but you get the idea of how we did this. At the end of this street, it's got to be where the apothecary is. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Let's go fed. Okay, so we're walking down the street, and Pro stops outside the church. The church is over here. The church is over here. And here are the bears. It was raining then. And here, so we decided that we would go to the Nussbaum, that's Walnut, restaurant, which is right across here, and which is right across, and here's an old painting of it, of the way it used to look back then. I know we're going awfully fast, but you get the idea. And so we decided to sit. Okay, can you back up? I wonder, is that possible? So if you sit, one more. So if you sit down here on the outside table here, said, you know, Jenny, let's sit down here and just have a feeling this is where it was. And I wonder, we're pretty sure it's where it was. We're pretty sure it's where the apothecary was. I just wonder if there's any proof about this. Now let's go forward and slide. So as we're sitting there drinking our white wine, Weisses wine, Jenny wasn't much of a drinker, but she said, this is good. and said, can we get some of this in America? I said, no, they don't send it to America. They all drink it here. They don't send it to us. And right across from there, I want to go back up, please. Back. There's a plaque. Oh, so often. Jenny, there's a plaque. There's a plaque. What does it say? Oh my gosh. So we ran across to the plaque, and here it is. All right. Okay, Martin Heinrich Klaproth. Here he is. Okay. I wish we could translate this. Have we got a special translator? Hit the slide. Oh, yeah, okay, all right. So, in the Berlin Memorial Plaques, we just stumbled upon this because it is not in the official records of the Berlin Chamber of Commerce. I can't forget the German word for it. And so Martin Heinrich Klaproth lived and worked here at this particular time. He's a member of the Academy of Sciences in Berlin. And he was a professor of chemistry in the Berlin University, which was founded in 1810. We don't have time to go across to show you that place, because you get the idea. In this apothecary laboratory, he discovered many chemical elements, among which uranium. And so this is where it was done. This is where it was done. And right now, it's a jewelry store. And but at least we did locate it. We took the GPS. And there's anyway, next slide, I think we have an old photograph of it, way back there. You see this church here? This is the Nikolai Kirche we saw before. We walked out here, and here's the apothecary here. And the restaurant's got to be right around the corner here. And so the apothecary's here, and all we got to say is, here's where it was. And but we identified it. And it reminds me of when my mother was doing her genealogical studies in Pennsylvania. And she'd go find a place that was described by her grandparents. It's an ancient house, an ancient church, and so on. She went there, and now there's just a parking lot. And she was so disturbed and so sad and crying and so on. This is what we found out again and again, but at least we know where it is. And that these GPS coordinates should probably hold for many, many years. I mean, well, the continents are drifting apart about a centimeter every year. So, it'll be good. It'll be good for a long, long, long time. Next slide. And so, okay. So it took years. It took about 10 years, but all the sites, what is it? How's our time? We're just about right, aren't we?
5 more minutes.
Got 5? Oh, okay. Maybe time for questions. I don't know. Next slide. And that was a whirlwind, wasn't it? But that gives you an idea of what we did. That's 2 elements. Now we got to go and do 90 more. And so, yeah. That was awfully fast, wasn't it? It was awfully fast, but you got an idea. To lure the chase, we were very, very fortunate to do that. Because before 1998, there was no cheap GPS. And afterwards, we wouldn't go to Russia now for all the tea in China. Because they probably, what are you doing? And they throw us in jail or something. But at the time that we went over there, they were very, very friendly. We went to the Mendeleev Museum. We haven't got time for that either. I'll show you how you will have time in just a minute. Next slide. Here's the, go back up. Yeah, okay. Now on your, so we got, well, we did this time-wise just about right, didn't we? Here are the links if you want them, or the links are on your card right here. And you can go visit one of these sites. And for every element, you were able to go, but if you go to this site, every element, it has a walking tour that you can go through it, exactly as we did here. And so if you want to use this for your classes or something like that, it's a way that you can go explore. And so I think I'm going to talk about that briefly at 2 o'clock because we run out of time here. Have we done it? Just about.
Take any questions?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so any questions? Yes, sir.
So maybe you would describe your sort of spiritual experience.
Did you say how to describe the spiritual experience?
Yes. Share with us that.
Gladly. That's the most religious experience I ever had in my life. And Jenny's too, just sitting there and saying, this is where it all was. And we were blessed to be able to find this. And science can be such a joy and a thrill to explore, particularly the history of it. That's what we're doing here, the history of it. It's just out in this world. It's very, very spiritual. It's I think Neil deGrasse talked about this too, didn't he? About how spiritual is just to visualize the universe and how infinite it is and how beautiful it is. That sort of made me give you an answer to your question. It's just top notch. Yeah. If this won't make you religious, nothing will. I may be exaggerating, Tom. No, it helps. We've done it. Any more questions or? Yes.
Is there any place you haven't seen that you would have liked to?
Well, there's two. Yes, but we had it covered by other people who were either relatives or new relatives, and so I could answer to that. No, we did cover it. Now, for the chance of uraniums, we sort of gave up here because how high. But we did go to Berkeley and visit there, and to the site also, but not to the site in Russia. And so we visited all the sites of the main elements. And I'd like to go back. We caught them all. We're very, very lucky. Yes?
So early in your presentation, you briefly mentioned palladium. So palladium was discovered from, I think, a platinum ore. But in the map that you showed earlier, you seem to have placed palladium in the map of South America
Yes.
over Brazil.
It was an impurity.
And I have not been able to find anywhere, any source that mentions where that ore came from. Was it in Brazil or was it somewhere else in South America?
It's Minas Gerais, which is a state in Brazil. And for the life of me, I can't quite remember. Well, it's on the.
But it's Brazil, not Colombia.
It's in Brazil. It's in Brazil. It's in southern Brazil, almost in. Okay, yeah.
Is it in Rediscovery?
Oh, yeah. Now, yeah, it's in rediscovered. Now, platinum was actually discovered in Colombia. Platinum was. These are little nodules of platinum, which they use in jewelry. And it was this. Did you say platinum or palladium?
Palladium.
Palladium.
Oh, palladium. Okay, palladium. Okay, it was a gold impurity. These gold bars would be sent to Spain, and they discovered there was an impurity in there because it made the gold very fragile, brittle. And so they had to get this impurity out. This horrible element that was no good. So, yeah, it's all in the website. Yes, sir.
I'd like to advance or bring the parallel of travels to what all of us do. We're all doing other types of travel.
Yes.
So lately I've been traveling with Roald Hoffman through his laboratory notebooks, page by page, his travels. So all historians do different types of travel
Yes.
that fit in with your travel.
Yes. Yeah, and so I guess we were just nuts. We decided that we were anxious. My father once said he was raised on a farm in Pennsylvania, and he wanted to go to the state fair. When he was at the state fair, to go back to the farm. He's always restless, always wanted to go here and there. He had the Wanderlust, and I guess we had to get out and do it. And so that was that also was a religious experience because it was our contribution to what you talk about, which is extremely important. Probably more important because without that, we would not have been able to do what we did. Not at all. So we're extremely grateful. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yes.
I think I know the answer, but were there any big disappointments during your travels?
Actually, none come to mind because we went back again. We've gone back several times to many of the places to cover those mistakes. So I guess not. We feel very, very fulfilled. Very. That'll make you religious too. Realizing that if you want something bad enough, the universe or God, whatever you want to call, is able to give you the ability to travel all these places. So no, we're satisfied. I'm tired. At 84 years old, I'm ready to sit back and just enjoy it. We were very, very, very lucky and very fortunate. But it was an extremely critical time. Couldn't have done it before. Couldn't have done it afterwards. I don't like to travel. I wouldn't like to travel to Europe anymore because I'm just too old for it. Run out of time. Anything else? Wow.